What episode is this?
Too many?
Nailed it. Welcome into this edition of Mostly Peaceful with Dan and Chris. We tried to rename it to Chris and Dan. The guy sitting to my left is just really a curmudgeon when it comes to renaming things.
Had an issue with that. Dan and Chris, that's the brand, man. Come on.
All right, Dan Mandis to my left. You can find him on X at Dan Mandis Show. I'm on all the social media platforms at Chris Hand on Air. Well, Dan, what do you want to talk about?
Barack Obama is a tool. Have you seen his post?
No. For Charlie?
It's for cancel culture. So.
Oh, because he's upset about Jimmy Kimmel?
Yes, he's upset about Jimmy Kimmel. So many things here. It's not about free speech. We'll get into all of that. But this is what the Democrats' Lord and Savior has now posted on whatever this is. After years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration, talking about Trump, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. So just stopping right there. Jimmy Kimmel was put on hiatus, fired, suspended, whatever, because the affiliates,
Yes.
the TV stations that were carrying him said no more because Jimmy Kimmel, like Barack Obama, is a flippin' tool.
And you're not allowed to have an FCC broadcast license if you're not operating in the public interest, and saying that the shooter was a MAGA guy is not exactly operating in the public interest.
It's a lie.
And
it was a lie.
I'd also point out, the same people who are like, Jimmy Kimmel got fired for a joke, were cheering when Roseanne Barr got canceled from the exact same network for a joke.
Or you could talk about how they were cheering when Tucker Carlson, Jimmy Kimmel was cheering.
They cheered when Trump got deplatformed. There's a tweet out there from Jimmy Kimmel that says "The view from Donald Trump's toilet," and it's him looking at his Twitter account with a teardrop on it.
Well, and here's the deal, is that if you go back and you listen, and let's play real quick. Of course, the Jimmy Kimmel cut, why he got fired.
He had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So where was the joke?
There wasn't one.
There wasn't a joke. That's exactly right. So when you had the FCC chairman, and he had that interview with Benny Johnson.
Brendan Carr, yeah.
Brendan Carr, where he talks about the public interest. There is no public interest when someone with the reach of Jimmy Kimmel knowingly and blatantly lies. And I love how Barack Obama is trying to make this like, oh, the Trump administration is, threatening television networks or whatever. And I just think that Brendan Carr understands that it's not in the public interest if somebody like Jimmy Kimmel is putting forward this propaganda where they were trying to sell, because some of these people in Congress on the left tried to sell the same thing. Other members of the media did too, trying to sell that Charlie Kirk's shooter was MAGA.
And I think that discord is really being spread by the left online. They said that he was a MAGA conservative. And then when that didn't work, they said that he was even further right and he was a Nick Fuentes groyper. And then when that didn't work, now they're really laying heavy on the Israel stuff, which I think is that. Granted, you see, some prominent conservatives like Candace Owens saying it, but I think that a lot of the amplification online is from leftist accounts who are just being low key.
Mm-hmm.
And they're targeting that far right element of the Israel stuff with that narrative as well.
Well, and here's we haven't even gotten to the second part yet of Barack Obama's post. Saying this, Obama says, this is precisely the kind of government coercion that the First Amendment was designed to prevent. And media companies need to start standing up rather than capitulating to it. So
the guy who got rid of the Smith-Mundt Act,
right,
and made it so that way news stations could propagandize American citizens, is now worried about free speech.
Well, and here's the other thing. This is the same government, I will say, because some of this was under Trump too, but certainly during Biden, where if you were posting on the socials about concerns about vaccines,
Yep.
concerns about what Joe Biden was saying, concerns about what Anthony Fauci was saying,
Yep.
concerns about the lockdown. What did they do? They started throttling you. They started shutting you down.
Yeah.
So I love how Barack Obama and these folks in our government, they're so for free speech unless you're speaking against them.
Yeah. And it's like your boos mean nothing because we've seen what makes you cheer.
Right. And you're talking about propaganda. And when you look at what Brendan Carr said, the FCC chairman, where he talked about, what the community guidelines and some of these things that the FCC has supposed to for years talk about what was in the community's interest.
Yep.
And so there's also something in there called news hoaxes.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly how it's worded. I don't remember. Let's run that cut real quick, where Brendan Carr, FCC commissioner, he's talking about the various aspects of what the FCC for years they have not been enforcing, but now he wants to start enforcing, where he talks about news hoaxes and the like.
Public interest means you can't be running a narrow partisan circus and still meeting your public interest obligations. It means you can't be engaging in a pattern of news distortion. We have a rule on the book that interprets a public interest standard that says news distortion is something that is prohibited. Likewise, we have a rule that addresses broadcast hoaxes. And so, again, over the years, the FCC has stepped back from enforcing it, and I don't think it's been to the benefit of anybody. Just look at the credibility of these legacy media. It's absolutely through the floor. They used to be able to say at least they were more trustworthy than Congress, but now they're even less trustworthy than Congress. And so I think as a business matter for them, something has to change. And at the FCC, we need to reinvigorate this.
So you hear that there are things, according to Chairman Carr, that for the public's own good, they do need to start enforcing. Because when you've got one side of the aisle and it's the coordinated efforts of Democrats, politicians and the media putting forward a certain amount of propaganda, trying to place the blame on MAGA, that's a news hoax. It is a blatant lie. It is propaganda on their part. And clearly what they're trying to do is they are trying to politicize the death of Charlie Kirk. And all conservatives are trying to do is mourn.
Yeah. Well, they're celebrating it. But
Yeah.
the Democrats are just infuriated whenever we want to enforce the rules on the book. Right?
Yeah, we can't have that.
Like if Joe Biden just enforced the rules on the books, we'd have a secure border because that's what Trump did. You have the HHS, CDC, they're now enforcing rules on the books about pharmaceutical companies advertising all their side effects.
Right.
Which effectively makes them unable to advertise because you'd have a 4-minute ad. But that's the rules on the books. And again, we're seeing the rules on the books being enforced and the Democrats crying foul play. Did we make new rules?
Yeah.
Did I miss something where there was a big vote with the Republican majority where we forced through new rules to punish Democrats? No, we're just doing what we always should have been doing.
Right, because we have seen over and over again where, and you mentioned it just a few moments ago, where if you want to talk about news hoaxes or you want to talk about, lies being perpetuated by people in the media and hand in hand with the government, I mean, you mentioned a few, I'll mention a few about Joe Biden, being sharp as a tack and all of those other things that, I mean, if you want to talk about a news hoax, you want to talk about a news conspiracy, whatever it is, but there's so many different ways that the Democrats are trying to take advantage of this situation with Jimmy Kimmel because they're trying to say that Trump strong-arming the networks. I think there's something else going on, and I did say this on my show this morning. I think part of this is Disney was really quick to pull the trigger on this. I think that they've been contemplating since Colbert was shit canned. I think that they've been thinking about doing the same thing with Jimmy Kimmel because I think Kimmel's ratings Kimmel's ratings were lower than Stephen Colbert's. I think he was like third.
Can anybody save late night TV at this point?
No.
Nobody.
Here,
So
okay.
I made the point on my show today. Like, if you were going to get a good late night host that America would love, I think a guy like Tim Allen would be awesome.
Tim Allen would be great. Nate Bargatze would be terrific. But would people watch in real time? I think those days are long gone.
Oh, appointment watching TV where like you have to be on the couch at Thursday at 7:30 because
Yeah.
your big show's coming. Those days are gone.
Long gone.
And with and maybe to your point with the late night shows, it's not as evergreen as it could be. You're not going to go and watch or binge watch 6 or 7 episodes of a late night show.
No.
You're just not. In the same way where, and I've tried many times, you go, the Johnny Carson channel on Roku. I'm like, let's look and see if we can. It's like, it's not enjoyable. It doesn't
No.
stand the test of time.
But I think America's changed since the days of Johnny Carson. Media's changed. Politics have changed. Hollywood has changed. The days of Johnny Carson, and I remember because I'm old enough to remember these days, where you were to watch Johnny Carson or even Jay Leno and some of the folks. David Letterman was another one, but a little different because he was a lot more salty. But society put Hollywood on this pedestal.
Yeah.
And now I think most people could give a crap.
I don't think anybody cares what Hollywood has to say.
Right. And that's Hollywood's own doing.
Did you see Lauren Daigle, the Christian artist?
No.
So she put out a long post about Charlie Kirk, and it was a really good post. But one of the things that she said, she goes, I'm also a little bit shocked that people were criticizing me for not saying something sooner. She said, I like to let my thoughts develop. I like to grieve, and I like to let them marinate. And I think that you should reevaluate yourselves if you're looking to celebrities, and she put it in quote, to tell you what to feel about something.
Everybody is so used to instantaneous reaction. And oftentimes people with instantaneous reactions, they say the wrong things.
Yeah.
And you're operating under maybe information that is going to change almost immediately.
Yep.
I mean,
think about the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk shooting.
Right.
It's like, we got him. He's
Yeah.
already arrested.
right.
The suspect is in custody. Oh, it wasn't him. We got the other guy. The other suspect's in custody. Oh, wasn't him.
Yep.
And the FBI, I don't know. Do you feel like they've done a great job on this investigation? Because the way I look at it, it feels like they wouldn't have caught the guy if it wasn't for the family turning him in.
No, I think you're right. I think they were like, the walls are closing in. By the way, if you know anything, we'll give you $100,000.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It felt like that, didn't it?
Yeah, it was weird.
And then the way they celebrated with our investigative power and partnering with local forces, we got this guy in 33 hours. It's like, it's kind of embarrassing.
Meantime, you've got all of these, some of these trans groups in Salt Lake City.
Armed
And-
queers.
Armed queers. And I think, just real quickly, I think this dude, he comes from a conservative family. I think, though, that he became involved with this furry-loving trans guy.
Yep.
And then he got involved in that community. And I think that he was groomed to do this.
Yeah.
And I think those text messages, and, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But my take is that the text messages that they wrote to each other, I think that those were to provide cover
Yep.
for the boyfriend.
And possibly the old man who was yelling, I did it. I did it.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's pretty suspect too, or suspicious too. But the whole thing's crazy. I don't know. I don't think the FBI did a good job, and I think it's fair to say that. And I think that they're like really like, wow, look at how good we did. It's like, did you?
Did you really?
Did you?
Or did you just happen to luck out?
I think they happened to luck out.
Yeah. Well, the guy left the rifle.
Yep.
Pretty significant piece of evidence. He left his DNA, if I'm not mistaken, on a screwdriver up on the roof.
Yep.
So,
But to your point on when he was radicalized, I think you could make the argument it started a long time ago. It wasn't just this past year. It wasn't that first semester at college. There's a picture of the shooter that the mom posted on Facebook in 2013, so 12 years ago. And she's like, look, we're not going to be hearing from Tyler anymore because we got him this great Christmas gift. And the picture is him with headphones on staring into a computer.
yeah. Yep.
And I think that we have to be honest. Like, yeah, did the universities play a role? Absolutely. But unfettered access to the internet played a huge role in this. And maybe that was him dipping his toe into the pool originally. But like, you see, even now, my wife sent me this text. Roblox, they're already trying to remove games because they're popping up so fast. Where you can be the Charlie Kirk shooter, you can simulate it.
Oh, are you kidding
They've
me?
removed about 100. But do you know how many parents look at Roblox and they don't even realize that it's a platform and not a game?
Yeah.
Like they look at Roblox and they think Minecraft, but that's not the reality at all.
No.
Roblox is like the biggest haven for groomers and pedophiles and that ideology, and it's insane.
Well, basically, what they just so people that may not know, Roblox, it's a platform, and you've got all of these creators that just make games and they post them.
Yep.
And there's no real supervision
No,
as
and
far as
they
what
got
these.
that's the craziest games. It's like be the Hamas freedom fighters on October 7th.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
And unfortunately, you do have these, very small kids with unfettered access. And this has been the problem really since the internet started, since all these games started coming to fruition. So whether this guy started being radicalized that early or he was just so familiar with being online and so forth, and he didn't have that parental guidance as he was growing up, and then that left him susceptible to the influence of these radical trans groups.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a big part of it. But one of the things that I thought was really fascinating this week in talking about all of these the lies that the media has been telling, the celebration of the death of Charlie Kirk. A couple of things. Number one is, okay, it's not all Democrats that are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. But if they're not standing up in unison and saying that's wrong, then to me, they're complicit and they're right in on it.
It's like my dad would always say. It's like, yeah, you have your radical Muslims that'll throw the gays off the building. The moderate Muslims watch, and so like that. I feel like it's the exact same thing.
It is the
We're
same
looking at the
thing.
exact same thing.
Yeah. And there is a great video, and we're going to play it here, of a kid. I don't know how old he is. He looks young, but you'll see, maybe 19, 20, 21 years old. But he realizes, as he's been raised as a Democrat, that he's been lied to. And watching the death of Charlie Kirk and doing a deep dive into who exactly Charlie Kirk was, he does realize that he's been lied to. Listen to this.
I didn't think much of the death because from what I had heard, Charlie Kirk had been a neo-Nazi who wanted me to be dead. He didn't support my existence and whatnot. And now I'm kind of sitting here thinking, and I'm like, I feel like I had been lied to. I really took some time after the thing happened to kind of look into his videos, look into his beliefs, look into his thoughts and who he was as a person, kind of reevaluate his character. And to me, he seemed like a well-mannered family man. He believed in the country. He believed in the greater good of the country. He had his own political beliefs and opinions. And sure, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with him on, but I never would stand for him dying or being murdered because of his beliefs. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I think I may be starting to lean a lot farther right in response to everything that's taken place.
So you see at the end there, he actually says, I'm now going to become more conservative because I realized, he says, that been a lot of lies told to him as he's been growing up. And that's what's going to happen. That's why I'm so hopeful, and I'm not politicizing the death of Charlie Kirk, but I think that there is going to be a very rude awakening for the Democrats because of what they have done. And I think that people are now realizing the lies that they've been told about Charlie Kirk, and especially the younger Democrats, like this kid who he's growing up and he's been told all of these things about Charlie Kirk. And then he does his own research, egads, and he realized that he's been fed a bunch of BS.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be, I mean, a turning point.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
no pun
We've
intended.
all been saying it.
But a turning point because they are going to lose. The Democrats going to lose more than likely a lot of self-thinking
Yep.
young Democrats.
And it just introduced a lot of people to Charlie Kirk who didn't know who he was.
No idea.
And you're seeing the explosion, the revival that we saw last weekend, and we'll probably see again this weekend, of church attendance. The just sheer numbers of requests for Turning Point chapters that are coming in, where we over 50,000 now.
It's insanity.
Like, the amount of influence that this is going to create, it's going to change everything. And for everybody who's like, maybe high school kids aren't going to make a difference. Like, yeah, give it like 2 or 3 years. They're all going to be voting. Are you kidding me?
Boy, that is a very short-term myopic look at this.
Yeah.
I think that you're going to have young kids who are going to realize who's been telling the truth and who hasn't. And look at the pattern. This is the thing. Look at the pattern of the Democrats over the last several years, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the lies that were told about the border. You've got the lies that were told about Joe Biden being sharp as a tack. You've got the lies about the Democrats claiming that they want to clean up the cities when clearly they don't.
Unless a Chinese dictator's coming to town.
Unless a Chinese dictator is coming to town. Absolutely right. And now the lies about Charlie Kirk. So
And that is that's a brief synopsis.
We could go on for days on this.
We could come up with a much longer list.
Yeah, we could. So
It's just disgusting. Like, this is what we're up against.
yeah.
I had a guy call into the show earlier this week, and he's like, all you do is push the right side, and it's like, yeah, well, because we're right, but we also have a mountain of disinformation that we need to fight against. Like, why are you always highlighting what the left says? It's like, because we have to be able to combat it, and we have to know what our enemy is saying in order to bring the correct counterpoints. Otherwise, you're walking into a gunfight with a knife.
If you are to battle your enemy in the field of ideas, you've got to know your enemy.
Yeah.
And so what we do is radio talk show hosts and podcasters, what we do is we need to arm the people that listen to us with the information
Exactly.
that they need, because not only are we out here to entertain, but also to inform.
And if we don't, there's going to be someone else to fill that void, right?
Mhm.
Like, so you're either going to get somebody like Destiny, who is a far left streamer, who's saying, like, we need to kill all conservatives or make them be afraid of dying.
Yeah.
Or you get the opposite, which is that Destiny would be the far left. The opposite would be the far right, which is Nick Fuentes, who is just radical the opposite way. And
Right.
he's like, you can't trust JD Vance. He's a Peter Thiel guy. I watch all these guys. Just full disclosure, I do.
Destiny, I saw him perform on Pierce Morgan.
Yeah, and
What
that's,
a
you
buffoon.
nailed it. Perform.
Yeah,
It's
what
a
a
performance.
buffoon.
But-
And what's her name? Anna Kasparian.
Yep, she's from the Young Turks. She's
From the
been
Young Turks.
slowly
Has she been red-pilled?
Yes,
Because I remember the Young Turks were like a bunch of leftists.
far left.
And then something happened to her and she became, would you consider Anna Kasparian, is she conservative or has she just suddenly become independent?
I would call her an independent. I'd call her
Okay.
a middle of the road moderate. But here's the thing with leftists, right? Like, leftists will push you to the ground, and if somebody on the right helps you up, they'll go, "See, I knew you were on their side." Like,
Right.
you see that all the time.
Yeah.
I think that the Young Turks have had a bit of a change of heart because Charlie invited Cenk to what was the event? America Fest. He had him at America Fest last year
Yeah.
to have a conversation on stage. I'm not here to silence you. Let's debate our ideas. Let's have the conversation. And but the far right will. I mean, do you ever listen to any Nick Fuentes stuff?
Oh, yeah.
So he went on a tirade about JD Vance. And he's like, he's a Peter Thiel guy. He's funded by Thiel, and he's not going to do anything. He's not going to make my life better. And I was sitting there, I'm thinking, like Nick, you're 25. Like, to push a Gavin Newsom over a JD Vance, that's going to make a lot of people's lives worse.
There are people, and this might be controversial to say, but I'm going to say it. But there are people that, and we saw this with the Never Trumpers, where they were like, I would rather have Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump. I'm not going to waste my vote on a Donald Trump. I'm going to vote in my conscience. Okay, then
Best
at
of
the
luck.
time,
Yeah.
then let's have Hillary frickin' Clinton in here who wants to bring in, I remember at the time, all these refugees and all these wild ass leftist ideas. And it was just the dumbest thing. And now those people who were saying they were going to vote their conscience and not vote for Donald Trump, or they weren't going to vote at all, now they are the biggest Donald Trump supporters. I think that if you see somebody like a J.D. Vance, who is, and Fuentes is a big Donald Trump supporter.
He was.
Oh, is he no longer a Trump
Nope.
supporter?
No, he thinks that Trump sold us up the river. But
Why? Like what's I have not watched him lately,
it's
but
about the overwhelming support of Israel. That's his big issue. I mean, that's like his big thing. He also went on his show, though. He had 100,000 live viewers, and he said Israel didn't kill Charlie. He's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But he's like, I get how young men, especially young white men in this country, have been demoralized.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not a shock. It's not a shock when kids are coming out saddled with college debt. They can't buy a home.
Right.
You know, I sent this meme to my dad last night, and it was like you in your 30s, and it's like a nice guy with a wife, and he's like, we're buying a home. And it was like me in my 30s. It's like another chapter of Revelation. So that's it's kind of what we're dealing with. So I understand how you get blackpilled, but I would just say a JD Vance, for a guy like me, mid 30s, 4 kids and a wife, he is going to dramatically make my life better than a Gavin Newsom. And I think that you're narrow-minded if you're only focused on
narrow topic.
Yeah.
Narrow issues.
Yep.
It's like if you're and the folks that are anti-Israel, that is their biggest topic, it seems like. And so, okay, then you do that. But in the meantime, you've got J.D. Vance who, he's pro-Israel, but you know what else he is, Nick? He's pro-America. And he's pro-low taxes. He's pro, legal immigration and closed border. He's pro-police. He's pro-safe streets. So
he's pro reestablishing our manufacturing base.
Yes. So
he's
I
pro
think
small town. Like I think JD Vance and I've said this a million times, he understands the new American story better than just about any politician I know because of the issues he grew up with his mother.
Yep.
Because of this small town in Ohio that he saw decimated by NAFTA, because of his military service. I think that there's nobody better. And we'd be hard pressed to find a guy that's going to understand the American story right now any better than J.D. Vance in politics.
Well, and I think there are people that look really closely at these associations and, he's involved with this guy or that guy or whatever. And it's like, I think maybe you're digging too deep. That's number one. And number two, look at the man's record and look at what he's accomplished and really look at his electability. Because if you're dumb enough to, and I don't want to start a thing with Nick Fuentes, but I mean, if you're dumb enough to be like, oh, I'm not going to vote for J.D. Vance, okay, then you'll be like those dipshits that wanted Hillary Clinton back in 2016 because you're going to vote your conscience and not vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. By all means, then, don't vote for J.D. Vance if he actually runs. Don't vote. Stay home and let Gavin Newsom become the next president. People like that with such a small mind drive me up the wall.
But what about the smelt fish, Dan?
The smell. Oh, yes. What about the smelt fish? Exactly right. So it's interesting, too. You brought up kids getting out of college and young adults these days. So I had a guy call up my show. He was 19 years old.
Yep.
And I made a reel out of it, actually. Follow me on at Dan Manda's show. But he was so torn apart because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And he was upset because, as you said, being a young man, especially that age, these days, where you spent your high school years, depending on how old we're talking about, in lockdown, you had to deal with COVID.
Summer of love.
Summer of Love,
disavowing your whiteness.
disavowing your whiteness, toxic masculinity, all these things. And so for a 19-year-old who the world is against you and you can't, your degree is worth nothing, you can't find a job, you're a white male.
If you got a good degree in the STEM field, well, guess what? We're importing an Indian to take your job for about 30% less.
Or artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
right? So Charlie Kirk was their voice. And so those folks now, those young adults, especially young males, they no longer have that role model except with the old videos that are everywhere. Yep. And that's why I've been encouraging people on my social media, continue to share them, because Charlie Kirk's messages were timeless.
Yeah.
And so I think young adults, I don't know who the next Charlie Kirk is. I don't know if there is one.
I don't think there is. It's kind of like, I mean, I heard your show this morning, and you were talking about Rush Limbaugh and Charlie, because Glenn Beck had an incredible tribute where he put the golden microphone,
golden
in front of Charlie's
EIB
seat.
microphone right there in front of Charlie's.
Oh my gosh! And when Glenn broke, I broke. I mean, it's like,
yep.
But there's no next Rush.
No, they tried. But there's no offense to anybody, but no, there is no next Rush Limbaugh.
Well, and
there's no next Charlie Kirk.
No, and golly, do I feel for whoever has to take that seat, because there's just no way. It's like, Dan Bongino didn't die, but he had a massive audience. It's like, good luck filling his seat as the deputy director when he went to take the deputy director spot. And and I like Vince. Like, I think he's a great guy, but you can't replace what is unique.
You can't replace unique and greatness. You just can't.
And the authenticity.
And the authenticity. Gosh, Bongino, Rush, Charlie Kirk. Those guys are the epitome of authenticity. And you know what's interesting too, is that we're talking about this today, actually, where you talk about what all of those broadcasters had in common. And we talked about this younger generation. They've never mourned someone that they've never met. Right. And so that's also part of what this younger generation is right now facing. I've been, I've mourned, whether it's, broadcasters, actors, actresses, whatever. But this younger generation, they truly knew Charlie Kirk. They'd never met him.
Yeah, but you knew him.
But you did. You knew him. You'd never met him, but you knew him because of that authenticity.
Well, and I mentioned on my show, and I talked with Murphy, and he's like, this is like a Martin Luther King-esque assassination. You took out a thought leader.
Yep.
And I saw this viral video last night. It was a young black kid, maybe 20, 21. And he goes, it's a good comparison, but it's off. And he goes, I'll tell you why. And again, it's a young black kid. He goes, Charlie lived out his ideals.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King did not.
It's true.
Like it's a huge difference. Martin Luther King said a lot of great things. He didn't practice it.
No.
And everybody knew that Charlie was who he said he was. And I think that's why you're seeing such a boom of, like, I don't know. I mentioned on my show today, it's like, after the Charlie death, like, I want to be a better Christian. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. Like, I'm motivated to just try and advance those goals more than anything else.
Be more like Charlie.
Yeah.
Be more like Charlie. Be less like the hero on the Democrat side, George Floyd.
Yes.
So be more like Charlie. Be less like George Floyd.
Yeah, we don't need crocodile tears for a future doctor.
No. And I think you're right. I think that for a lot of folks on the right, and in the middle, we are seeing more people wanting to go to church, more people wanting to be like Charlie Kirk. The question is, number one, will it last? Because remember, 9/12 was a day we were all unified, right? Well, that didn't last, and I hope that people wanted to be more like Charlie Kirk. I do hope that continues on. I really do. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think that if people are awakened or red-pilled to some of these things, I think that's going to be huge.
When do you think we get back to a normal news cycle? I was talking with a friend, and I was like, it feels like, and I was younger, granted, I was in 8th grade, but it was like, I remember after 9/11, it was like, okay, when can we get back to everything else? And it feels like this is that same kind of event. Like, what?
Well, because the reverberations are going to continue. Like when we go to the midterm elections, when we get closer to the midterm elections, the Charlie Kirk factor, in my opinion, is going to be huge heading into the midterm elections because of the behavior that we are talking about earlier.
And Trump is planning like an RNC style convention,
Yes, I cannot wait.
which is
So smart.
It's a brilliant idea.
Yep.
But we have a window now, right? Like, especially after yesterday, where Donald Trump declared Antifa a terror organization.
Yep.
We know that there's investigations going on into Armed Queers SLC. There's great reporting from Ryan Morrow about the Open Society Foundation, George Soros dumping $80 million into not just domestic terror organizations here in America, but also globally.
Trump taking out the Venezuelan drug people coming over here on boats.
But do you think that we seize on the opportunity, or are we going to see the same thing that we always see from Republicans, which is talking a big game and then doing jack shit?
I have a feeling that, well, depends on who you're talking about. I'm always concerned with Republicans not fulfilling the promise of whatever they said on the campaign trail. Unfortunately, that's part of politics, and I absolutely hate it. However,
There's only one guy who keeps his promises from the campaign trail.
Donald Trump. And he has, or he goes down swinging. He really tries. And unfortunately, with Donald Trump, he's got to deal with Congress, right? He has all these executive orders.
But that's kind of what I'm more talking about, like less about Trump, more about Thune and Johnson. Can you get your people lined up to go?
I think that the Republicans, we've always had the problem with Republicans, and the best thing about Republicans, depending on your perspective, is we are free thinkers.
Yeah.
And Democrats, I mean, they will just follow the line, whether it's Nancy Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries. They'll just all oars in the water, and they can coalesce around anti-Donald Trump and whatever. The Republicans, they've got a lot of fight in them. And again, that's the best thing about Republicans. But unfortunately, it's not always a great thing, because if Trump wants to get something done, he's got people that stand in his way, i.e. Thomas Massie, for example, and some of those people. So
I'm liking less and less.
He used to be, I'm not going to say he was my political hero, certainly not, but
I really liked him for a while.
him. And now he just seems to be like an anti-Trumper.
Seems like a little bitch.
Or a little bitch. Well, because everything he does is against Donald Trump. That's the thing. He gets off on being an anti-Trumper. So it's sort of like when will the Republicans in the House of Representatives get their act together? And we've got some problem people in the Senate too. But the bigger issue, at least to me, is in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
Because we have such a slim majority. And the retirement of Mark Green here in Middle Tennessee certainly didn't help either. And
thanks, Mark.
And so, thanks. So we've got an even slimmer majority. And we have in our party a lot of debate and a lot of fighting, because that's what we do. So it's one way you talk about, can Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, get everybody in line? That's really hard to do, because we have a lot of disagreement. And then we've got the anti-Trump movement in the House of Representatives as well. Then you have the people who are Republicans who are in Biden-friendly districts. They want to keep their job too. So there's a lot of challenges with the Republican Party, and our debating, fighting spirit, again, is actually an interesting question. Is that a good thing or a bad thing within the Republican Party?
I mean, it's a bad thing if we can't get anything done.
It's a bad thing if we can't get anything done. But do we also want, let's say we had a moderate president. Let's say we had like a Bill Lee type, or Tennessee Governor Bill Lee. Let's say we had that kind of a Republican.
Nightmare fuel.
Yes. Let's say we had that kind of a Republican as a president, and he's working united with the Democrats and, working across the aisle, I wouldn't want to get anything done under that kind of a Republican president.
No, it's be like the Utah governor Spencer Cox. It's like,
Yes, that's exactly
like,
right.
Like
So
he and he is. I've grown more frustrated with him as the days go on. It seems like
Yeah.
he loves getting on TV for an interview, and it's like the same guy who he's talking about. We got to remember Charlie. We got to fight for Charlie. Charlie wanted you disbarred from the Republican Party because you vetoed a bill that would have kept men out of women's locker rooms.
Yep. Oh, by the way, real quick as we wrap up, one more thing. Somebody sent me a note today on a text and said, "Do you believe that we will ever be united again? And what would it take to unite America?" Now,
It takes 3 generations to re-educate the children.
There you go.
That's what it's going to take. We have to root out all of the leftist ideology from all the public schools,
Yep.
from all the college universities, and it's going to take 3 generations.
well, and here's the other thing, and
You won't be here.
Thanks there, Chris.
I'll tell you about it when we get to heaven.
Sure, absolutely. I'll be right there. But I like what J.D. Vance had to say. Remember what J.D. Vance had to say?
No unity.
No unity. I'll play the... All right, so play the J.D. Vance.
Yep.
I love that. No unity. Why in God's green earth would we want to be united with the party of lunatics the way that they are right now?
The party of mental illness.
The party of mental illness. Absolutely right. And for me, not only do I not want unity with those folks, they don't want unity with us. I mean, that is perfectly clear. Everybody is happy being on their own sides.
Yep.
And anybody who says, oh, can't we all just get along? I think that they don't really understand the culture war and the political war that is going on in America right now. They just don't understand.
I will say we're winning the culture war.
Absolutely. And not only are we as conservatives playing the culture war correctly, but at the same time, the Democrats are handing us victory after victory after victory, and we're just taking those opportunities and we're running with it.
But I would say, like, because they're handing us victory after victory, these kids feel so demoralized, the ones that have bought into this ideology, hook, line, and sinker. And I made the point on Twitter last week, there's a lot of people who are celebrating that, we're getting these guys fired for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. But I would make the case, you just gave somebody with mental illness nothing to lose. So, you have to keep your head on a swivel. I do fear that it's going to get more violent before it cools down. I don't know where you're at on that, but I think that we're approaching that.
I think tough times are ahead. I think the tough times are still ahead. And I pray to God that we don't have more conservative voices silenced. But I think the other side is getting angrier. They're getting more desperate.
Yep.
They realize that their party is at an all-time low, and they don't really know what else to do.
They're cornered.
They're cornered, and I'll be the millionth person to say it. The reason why they're celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk is because they know that he was defeating them.
It's the first victory they've had in what?
Yep.
I mean, even going back through the Biden administration.
That's exactly
Probably-
right.
It's probably their first victory since they stole 2020.
Yeah. You're right. You are right. And so now, for the Democrats, what does a cornered snake do?
Yep.
It lashes out and it bites. And that is what I'm worried about heading into the midterm elections. And the more victories that Donald Trump racks up, the more venomous and the angrier and the more cornered the left is going to feel. And they are going to lash out. So we'll be here for not only our talk shows, but also our podcast. Follow me on X at Dan Manda Show.
Follow me at Chris Hand on Air. Are you disconnecting over the weekend? Are you getting away from politics? Are you doing that for yourself?
I try, but it's really hard because I'm actually a political animal. I love this stuff.
Yep.
So it is difficult to disconnect, but oftentimes my wife tells me it's time to disconnect.
Yep.
Now that college football is here, by the way, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, well, I hope you guys have a good time this weekend. Disconnect if you can, but before you do that, hit like, hit subscribe, jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts on anything we talked about, and make sure you follow us again at Chris Hand on Air, at Dan Manda Show. That does it for this week's edition of Mostly Peaceful. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Have a good weekend.